Section 2B protection. Okay, so for somebody calling on the rally people and saying they're making too much noise, doesn't qualify. Okay, so just so you know that. So the protected expressions have been found to include music, art and dance, postering, physical movements, which is a rally, and marching with banners, etc. That's all legal, right? According to our rights. And in practice, this test is usually just applied to the analysis of the location of expression. Oh, sorry, let me go back. So number 2 is, does the method or location of this expression remove that protection? So in practice, this test is usually just applied to the analysis of the location of expression. The method of expression is generally considered to be within Section 2B protection unless it takes the form of violence or threats of violence, which means that, again, we're allowed to be there. Now, there's another the location of expression is the basic question with respect to expression on government-owned property is whether the place is a public place where one would expect constitutional protection for free expression on the basis that that expression in that place does not conflict with the purposes which Section 2B is intended to serve. So, for example, you do music there. You have people that use that stage there. Therefore, we are allowed to use that stage as well as a freedom right. So let's get into the other stuff here. Now, there's Section 2C.
I'm just going to give you got 1 minute warning.
Sure. So Section 2C, freedom of peaceful assembly. Everyone has the freedom of peaceful assembly. So as long as we are not being riotous or causing a great distraction or a great problem, which we are not. Sure, there's obviously people who object, and there will be. But we're not breaking any laws. So Section 2C includes the right to participate in peaceful demonstrations, protests, parades, meetings, picketing, and other assemblies. The freedom also extends to protecting the right to camp in a public park as protest activities. So we can actually camp on your thing in protest. I don't think you want that to happen. I mean, I think we should stay where we are and understand that we are doing this for the betterment of our children. Not for us. I mean, we're, well, for me, I guess specifically, I can put myself in the age category. But as far as our children go, I'm trying to protect my children so that they don't end up with digital IDs and government tracking and all the other stuff that's coming down the pipe.
I'll just ask that we keep the applause and cheering in the gallery to a minimum. That's not the decorum of the council chambers. Thank you, Mr. Kohen. You're at your 5-minute mark. Does council have any questions for the delegation? Councillor Swansea.
Thank you for sharing, Dwight. As Mayor Thorne mentioned, we aren't creating a bylaw today, but that space is bookable, and usually historically pre-COVID that space would have bookings by community members or groups. If that was because we are nearing to springtime and summer, we anticipate seeing those bookings. Is there another space that would be conducive to your gathering?
Well, likely. I mean, if that space is booked, we can choose to move to another public location at some point. Outside here would be doable. The amount of people that would be there, we would have to figure out. But other than that, I mean, yes. I mean, it's definitely movable, assuming that space is booked, right? If it's booked and nobody shows up, we would like to see that booking was actually real. Because obviously, we don't want to be coerced or tricked by anybody. So, but yeah, sure.
Sure, thank you. And then the intention is not coercion or tricking. It's just we are entering springtime and summer. So I just wanted to see your feelings on where another alternative spot would be. Thank you, Dwight.
And I will just wrap that thought up as well. Is you're also welcome to book that space as well. Then we know that you've got it booked and can plan accordingly as well around that.
Book that event?
No, there's a booking charge for everybody that books that space.
Right, so the freedom to protest does not include that, obviously. But, yes, so. So as long as it's not booked, then we're able.
It's a bookable space, so that's
granted.
the way it's set up. Anybody else? Councillor Hemrick?
Just from the gallery, if you save your comments and you want to come up front and say them, it's easier for us to respond. Thank you.
Any additional? No? Thank you very much, Mr. Koenig.
Yep, thank you.
I next have Dominique Fornier. Yeah, you'll push the button, it'll come on red, and if you can provide with the neighborhood and the community that you reside, please.
Good afternoon. My name's Dominique Fornier, and I live in Okotoks in the Crystal Ridge area. And I guess I'm just going to come and continue what Dwight was talking about. Thanks for the prep there, Dwight. So I'm going to speak a little bit before that to the whole point of community. So I've been in Okotoks since 1999. All of my children have grown up here. Love this community and love the intimacy of this community and the way people support each other. Now, over the last 2 years, it's been very hard to witness that. So a group of people got together almost organically and started to collect in an organic way to support one another. Now, I don't believe any of you have attended any of the rallies, which is a real shame because the beauty that emerges out of that is quite mind-numbing. Love, support. I have talked to people who felt lost, isolated, abandoned by their community, who felt supported. We've had people sing about love, dance about love, support love. We've witnessed psychologists come and talk about psychological support. In fact, Mayor, you were invited to come to do just that, but weren't able to attend. We've supported youth, children, mothers, fathers. We have been able to raise funds for food banks. This has been an absolutely spectacular community engagement like I have not seen in my lifetime in Okotoks. Now, is it a bookable location? Sure, but as Dwight pointed out, there is no constitutional demand to book a protest. And make no mistake about this, this is indeed a protest. And the only time those rights can be suspended is very specific. When you can demonstrate cause, there's been no violence. There's been no hate. There has been no speech that has been derogatory or hurtful. In fact, quite the opposite. As well, I have spoken to community members who have coffee shops, whose businesses do very, very well on the days of the protests. It has not harmed the community. If anything, it has helped it to rebuild what it had lost as a result of COVID. So I would ask you, please, when considering inquiries about the protest, please consider everyone's perspective. And certainly, we're willing to be cooperative. But let's face it, we've had people out there shoveling that stage for the town at no cost to you guys or to the taxpayer in order to better facilitate community gatherings. There's no harm that's been caused. So, and there have been protests and gatherings in the dead of winter when no one else is using the location. How is that harming a bookable space? No one was going to pay for those spaces at that time, and it increased movement and traffic through the community. So I would strongly urge you as council members and servants of this community, you are here to serve us, taxpayers, to reflect on those realities. This is not speculation, this is real. And please, come out to one of the protests and meet with all of us and join in the community building process instead of sitting here and judging what you know nothing about. I have nothing else to say. I thank you very much for this time.
Thank you very much, Dominique. Anybody? Oh, Councillor Timichuk.
Thank you, Dominic.
You're welcome.
You just mentioned about talking to some of the businesses around. Have you had any of the businesses approach you about it affecting them in a negative way, or has that happened?
Well, first of all, I'm not claiming to be an organizer, right? I'm here as a community member, but I do have friends who own businesses in the community. I have not gotten any negative response about people being unruly, unkind. The only people that I have spoken to, and there are about 5, who have said that they have found the protesters in the area very polite, that they have found them to be quite approachable, and that their businesses have done actually a little bit better on quiet Sunday afternoons in the middle of winter when there's not a ton of traffic in Okotoks.
Anybody else? Thank you very much, Dominique. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
You bet. Thank you for coming. The next person I have is Lori Ann Brown.
I believe my mic is on.
Yeah, it is, and if you could just provide the neighborhood you live in, please.
Hi, thank you for having me today. My name is Lori Ann Brown, and I'm from Okotoks in the Mountain View area. I've been empowered the last 2 years to become more involved in my community and to learn more about the way things work. You know, we've been so complacent in life that we seem to let things slide and we don't really see them for what they are, using words or trickery or laws or bylaws or things that just people don't want to look at because they don't understand it. So I'm trying to learn to understand how things work. But I think a lot of processes happen without people really being informed about what's really going on. And so I just put together some fun facts. And of course, I won't reiterate what my friends have already said here, so I'm going to make it pretty short. Do you know the magnitude and the messages of the volunteer speakers that attend and the topics in which they discuss? Do you know the depth that these professionals are talking? Do you know that there are people attending that are not just fighting for freedoms, but many are losing their homes, parents that have lost a child to suicide, citizens that are struggling with food and basic necessities, people who have been injured and can't get medical help? Do you know the depth of what brings a community together when in a state of despair or just desperate for some relief? I know on this council there are members who support and advocate for mental health and kindness, so what a wonderful gift it would be to see someone from this town show up to just speak to that. Do you know it's been an environment of inclusion of everyone, no matter their medical status, their race, religion, or where they live? People come from everywhere to be here. People are coming from distances just to have some support. That's the freedom part of it. Do you know people who attend these protests raise approximately $500 every 2 weeks for the food bank here in our town? Do you know the rally has raised almost $10,000 since its inception that went to people in need in this community to help with loss of wages or homelessness or unable to pay their utility bills? Do you know there is inclusion, Indigenous inclusion, with dancing and culture being taught to our community and to our children? Do you know that these protests help bring hope to people? They bring joy, education, and unity. Do you know we have a kids' corner to come paint and color, with a large encouragement to send thanks to our hardworking police and healthcare workers and, of course, the truckers? Do you know there are many seniors who come here just for a hug because it's the only contact they get with people? They thank everyone who comes and looks forward to everyone holding them, you know. Do you know at these protests they have professional doctors, respiratory specialists, child psychologists, chiropractors, dentists, organic food growers, local farmers, and homeopathic services? There are people coming to share their businesses and their passions and their hopes for building back a better, stronger community. Do you know there are businesses directly on Sunday that are open with great success because of the revenue of the large crowds that gather? Do you know outside of this town council there are citizens who are building back a community without assistance or direction? I think if this town chooses to take that away from people, I believe that would be a dark stain on this town's reputation and for what it's always stood for fairness and inclusion and equality. These protests are just not to end mandates or to be a visual to people, to be a nuisance, but rather to show solidarity and educating people on alternative health treatments from real credible doctors and scientists. It's addressing and providing mental health resources to adults, young teens, and kids, but it's more about how a small community, a small fringe minority, can step outside and think outside the box and support each other. So I'd like to invite everyone here to come to a protest and experience the amazing vibe that you get from the people in the community, because they're the same people that elected you. It's inclusion for all, and it's not to oppose a narrative or a mandate or anything. It's just about people coming together for people, and that's what matters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorianne. Any questions from council? Councillor Hemrick.
Mayor Thorne, I believe clapping again is not appropriate in the gallery. But nor do I think comments like that are constructive. But I just wanted to speak to the presenter. I don't know if you practiced your speech, but you did it very well, and you were right at the 5-minute mark. I was watching.
Oh, well, thank you. I've been practicing.
Oh, yeah, you were right on 5 minutes.
Well, it's never been, I've never thought I'd be in front of city council before, or I'd be trying to speak on my freedoms and what I believe to be my freedoms, and to be authentically me about my freedoms. And I don't really want to infringe on anybody's freedom. So I'm speaking from the heart, and I hope I speak on behalf of many. And like I said, the last 2 years have taught me to be more involved and to learn more about people. And I think this is what brings people together, that you take the time to learn about them. Thank you.
Oh, excuse me, my mic wasn't on, so probably they couldn't hear me in the back. But yeah, the other perspectives I've heard before, yours was unique and a little different. So it was nice to hear your side of it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Lorianne. Yes. Okay. Where am I now? I've got Wendy Norleen. If you could provide us with your name and area in the community you belong in.
My name is Wendy Norleen, and I live in the Calvana condos, just above Woodhaven. I'm not really prepared, but this was an opportunity for me. And what I'm going to address is the REP program that Council Emergency put through back in September, before 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you were even on the council. It has been, I should say, for myself personally, I'm thinking of a word, offensive for me, that I could not even use the walking track unless I showed papers. And when it was instigated, the town even had some security there to make sure that people who did not show papers could even attend there. Your jobs are not to divide us, but to, as Tanya put in the, Mayor Tanya, I'm sorry, regarding bullying, your job, a dedication to civility, creates a shared sense of ownership for community and commitment to the well-being of the community and all membership. That is not providing a shared community. As taxpayers, I hate using always going back to a taxpayer, but we should be able to share these community facilities without showing papers. And when Premier Kenney dropped the REP, he said, restrictions have done the job of getting more people vaccinated. So it was not about protection, it was doing the job of getting that. Everybody vaccinated for what? So they can have a digital ID? Is that what this is about? So I just wanted to express that when we decide we're going to maybe push a bit on rallies, be careful. That can be bullying. And just realize that bullies have no place here. And that's all I will say.
Thank you. Comments? Council, anybody with questions? Nope. We've got, you're good to go. Thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you very much for coming. And, oh, sorry, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Okay, and the last delegation I have on the list is Nadine Lewis.
Been a while. Good afternoon, Council. My name is Nadine Lewis, and I live up in Rosemont. The first, I'd like to preface what I want to say about the freedom rallies and resident inquiries by saying, Mr. Councillor Hemrick, this is a public space where there has been more clapping, tears, smiles, and happiness in this one particular space since it was opened in 2007 when I was part of it. So clapping and showing joy and pride in ownership is a good thing for all of us.
I will ask the gallery to remain quiet. That is the order in here. We are dealing with the delegation that's in front of us. Thank you.
So my concern about the freedom rallies and the inquiry to councillor and charges being pressed by the RCMP or OME, whoever's done the charges. I have a little bit of a different perspective, of course. I watched council last week when the inquiry was brought forward and your comments, Mayor, as well as the comments from Ms. Vincent. And it got me thinking about how we as a community can do better at communicating in terms of inquiries to council that have to do with something that they don't like, rather than seeing it in writing. When I say that, it's because if I had somebody say to me, what do you think of those rallies? I have a lot to say about them. I don't organize them. I go down to them occasionally when I can, because the information flow there is just mind-blowing. I have learned so much. Mental health, the health of our community, bringing community. I've met so many people that have lived here as long, if not longer than I have, and new people in town, and it's so welcoming and inviting. It's a good thing. And yes, like the others have said, I really recommend you guys step up, participate, come and check it out. You'll earn your pay just by being there, because it's just fun. As for RCMP and OME being on site during these rallies, I've been there, I've seen them. Everybody is respectful on both sides of it. I, too, like Ms. Vincent, would like to see roaming rallies rather than just being downtown. We have lots of public facilities in town, and just putting it out there, I would like to see different venues used so that we aren't just in the downtown core. It helps the businesses downtown. We already know that. The feedback's been, thanks for coming in. But there are other ways that this can be done as well to keep building on the community. And if you do come down, you will see that the growth in these rallies has just been astronomical. More people are coming down because of the speakers and wanting to learn more information. But I would say that if administration is getting information or council is getting information that charges are being laid, I think that information should be posted in the paper and online through news sources so that people are aware that charges have been laid, that if people are going to inquire to council, what is council going to do about these rallies? And if it becomes an agenda item, there needs to be a paper trail, not just hearsay, because hearsay is nothing in law. And Councillor Robertson, you know that. So if you want to follow through on any changes to these rallies, and you're not finding out or you're not getting cooperation from whoever's heading them up, may I just say that you just throw it out there and say, you know, we have Dooney players down on the stage in the next few weeks, or we have a dance thing going on, or council's putting on something. Put it out there so that whoever's...
I'll give you 10 seconds to wrap up.
Yeah,
You've hit your 5 minutes.
Whoever's organizing knows that we are going to respect those people and let them do their thing, because they're community too, and they have just as much right to be wherever as anybody else does. So I'm kind of all over the place on this, but at the same time, I'm just trying to stay very positive for the betterment of our community. That's all.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lewis. Any questions from council? Anybody? Councillor Timochuk?
Just a quick one. Thank you, Nadine. Just further on that, where you're saying, you know, maybe contact the people that are heading it up. I think there has been a little bit of confusion with council as to who those people could be. So if maybe somebody could provide that to us, then we could do that.
I don't know that it's the same people organizing all the time. I really don't. I don't know, does the town have a public calendar of, no, I know we do have events, but of when the spaces are booked or whatever? Yes? No?
So what I would say is, because all of the restrictions have now been lifted and we are actively planning our spring and summer piece, that's the conversation that we want to be able to have. So it's about creating a community together in a respectful way, and that involves a conversation. So if someone could come and have a conversation with us about what your plans and intents are for that space, we can try to plan our events around that. But it's about having that time and place for the conversation. That's all that we're looking to do, so that we can understand what you're looking for and what we need from a business perspective and community development perspective.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I'm seeing nothing.
Thank
you very
Have
much.
a good day.
Okay, so that's the end of our delegations. So we're moving on to the next piece of business, which will be item 6, minutes of the previous meeting. This is the, are you are you planning to stay for the rest of our meeting? Because you're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting as we work through, or I'll just take a 5-minute break so we can clear the gallery and allow you to move without interrupting our next piece of business. Thank you very much for coming today.